I had no idea the British press was so bigoted.
This one's wife. This is my world, Harry. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. It is sometimes jokingly remarked that we're all living in X's world, or you're all living in Y's world. This is done in relation to perhaps a particularly audacious act on the part of an individual or recognition of their global dominance. That is not the applicability of such a comment in relation to this one's wife. She, as a narcissist, although she is an unaware narcissist, has this subconscious mindset. This is her world. She rules this world. She is its president, its empress, its overlady, whatever you want to describe. But she sits at the centre of it, in her relational tower. Coloured strands of control issued in each and every direction over her minions, over those who look up to her, over those that dislike her, over those that kowtow to her. Everybody is living in this one's wife's world. She is the creator of this world. She is the sun at its centre around which everybody else revolves. You are expected to exhibit that you are under control within this world, that you are to fountain with fuel to provide her with that lifeblood. You are expected to understand her needs and requirements even when she doesn't tell you about them. You are expected to anticipate what she needs, even though she may only issue such an observation in the vaguest of terms. You should be ready to catch her, ready to serve her, ready to fulfill her needs. This is just as applicable to Harry as the intimate partner primary source as it is to the delivery boy on his scooter who she thinks is following her as part of some form of paranoid belief that he is a hitman. Everybody is living in this one's wife's world because she believes that she is so special, so important, so necessary. And because this is the prevailing mindset of this one's wife, this is what she exhibits in relation to her behaviour when dealing with other people. Her grandiosity, her haughty arrogance, her sense of entitlement, her lack of accountability, the absence of emotional empathy, all propel this mindset of, I am the centre of the universe, you are now living in my world. As I've said, whilst this is applicable to anybody in the fuel matrix, it is particularly applicable to Harry. The inspiration for helping you understand this mindset of the narcissist comes from a Redditor, Plants2552, who recently placed a post on the subreddit Saint This One's Wife. They use a full name, as you know, I do not. Credit where credit is due for the observation, and it occurred to me, as I looked upon it, that this would make a useful opportunity to explain to you how this one's wife really does believe that everybody is living in her world. As I'm talking, you can see a number of pictures that have originated from the Columbia tour, which demonstrates just how Harry has that position of being second best, that he is in effect an afterthought, that he is the spare in his own marriage. Let us not lose sight of the fact that Harry is the genuine royal. He is a prince by birth. And whilst you may not have any due regard necessarily for the British royal family, he has that title, it is recognised, and there are many people that respect it. This one's wife only gained a title as a consequence of marrying a genuine royal. She was a commoner. She doesn't come from any landed gentry. She doesn't come from any royal stock. Instead, as a coincidence of marriage and the fact that she as a narcissist managed to ensnare a dim-witted ginger prince, she gained the title of Duchess of Sussex. Given that she is an individual that talks about equality, you might think that she would perhaps show some deference and respect to Harry, as he is the true blue blood in the relationship, recognising that were it not for him, she would still be a mediocre actress, sucking golf balls through 40 feet of a hose pipe and apparently going on yacht trips. Even if you might say, well, why should she show deference to her husband, even though he is the genuine royal? Would it not be better that they behaved in an equal fashion? Indeed, that may well be your view. And again, you might expect that this one's wife, as somebody that maintains that she's an empowered female and talks about rights and opportunities for all, that she would behave in a way whereby she recognised that they were equals in this marriage, in this partnership. There's just one pesky thing that gets in the way of all of that: her narcissism. Her narcissism causes her to believe that it's her world and everybody else is living in it, and that includes Harry, which means that she's the one that takes the microphone and speaks whilst her husband sits there looking bored. She is the one that has to place herself centre of the photograph, with everybody gathered around her, whilst her husband is in the background, as if he's some Johnny-come-lately who's happened to wander in and isn't actually part of the proceedings. Notice, as you can see from the photographs that float across your screen, that she doesn't look for him to be involved. Her narcissism couldn't give a shit about him. Instead, it wants her to be seen. It wants her to be seen with the people because it's her world. And Harry is just jolly lucky to be allowed into it. You can see the instances whereby she sits spewing another beige word salad as Harry perhaps thinks to himself, hang on a second, I thought I was the prince. Why is it she's always the one that's talking? You can see the instances of where they're sat at a table. And it looks like Harry has been placed on an adjoining table, not the main table, and there is a noticeable gap between him and this one's wife. And then at one point, she puts her arm out as if to say, oh, don't worry about him, he's okay. I'm the important one here. Harry has been relegated to a bit part. And the reason for that is that his wife has no emotional empathy for him because she's a narcissist. Harry has been relegated to a bit part because she's the most important individual. She is the one that people have come to see, at least in her own mind. She is the one that has the important things to say, again, in her own mind. She is the star of the show, in her own mind. The fact is, many people would prefer to deal with Harry because they see him as the genuine royal, and that she is just some Janie-come-lately who's inveigled her way in through marriage. But that doesn't wash with this one's wife. Remember, you're the ones that have been invited into her world. It is by her grace and favour that you are allowed to exist there. And as such, that means she gets to walk first. She gets to greet people first. That's why she's allowed to interrupt your handshake by hugging people. That's why she is allowed to deal with other people's husbands. More about that in due course. This is why she's the one that grabs the mic and makes the speeches. This is why she is the one that should be at the centre of the photographs. Because she is the important one. Many people might just think, oh, she's pushy, that she's self-centred, she's self-absorbed. Well, all of those descriptions are correct. But what you must understand, that the beating heart behind all of those actions is her narcissism. Because in order to make her go after the prime aims of control and fuel and character traits and residual benefits, it has to be her world. She has to be at the centre of it all, so that everything revolves around her. This means that Harry, who ought to be the main man, isn't. That he's become this simp, this unhappy figure. Yes, there are occasions where he looks happy when he's with her. He doesn't look miserable all of the time, and that's in part because, of course, he'll be granted a respite period, and he responds favourably to it, like a dog that has been kicked for a while is suddenly allowed to come to the table and is given a sausage. Harry is treated in a similar way. Remember, it's her world. So if Harry's elbowed out of the way, Harry has to deal with that. If she clicks her fingers and gives Harry a bit of spicy poontang, Harry's drooling and happy again. If she deigns to dance with him, he's not being mistreated, and he feels relieved at that, and thus his eyes light up, and there he is with a smile on his face. But it's all as a consequence of her apparent generosity. And this is what Harry deals with, and what he will continue to deal with. And the photographs that you have seen are a stark example of how Harry is the bit part, the spare, the relegated individual, and how he is just living in the narcissist world. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.